I want to get started. We'll start, there's a theme to the show. We weave a little story throughout. We start biggest picture, and that's the playoff. All of the major conferences got together this week, and they were supposed to be, we looked at it a month ago, and everybody thought this is going to be where the decision is made to go to the 4 automatic qualifiers. SEC gets 4, Big Ten gets 4, ACC 2, Big 12 2, blah, 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 blah. Then you go to the SEC meetings, and the SEC coaches say, nah, we don't like that. We like 5 champions and then 11 at-large bids. And even in the SEC, they're like, what? Huh? Where'd this come from? So the SEC can't agree to do what the Big Ten wants. You go to this meeting, and nobody's done anything, so now you left this meeting. You got to name something by December, or you stay where you are with the playoff next year, which means you leave potentially millions upon millions upon millions on the table. So the basic gist is this. The Big Ten still wants 4 automatic qualifiers because they can then, if they know they've got 4 teams in, they can turn that into 8 games or 3 games or whatever in terms of play-ins. That's more TV money. That's why the SEC was cool with it initially. They still want that. But they say we will go to the 5-11 plan, which is what the SEC now wants, and it's what the other leagues want. They'll go to the 5-11 plan if the SEC will go to a 9-game conference schedule like the Big Ten plays. Well, and like the Big 12 plays. But the SEC, they still don't want to do it. So my question to you guys, you got 3 options on the table. Big Ten can blink and just go 5-11, stop with the 4 automatic qualifiers, leave those millions of dollars that they're drooling after on the table. Or the SEC, after years of debating a 9th conference game, they could say, yeah, let's do what everybody else does. Let's give our fans a better game, better product. Or you could just say, nope, just stay at 12 with the playoff. I'm done with it. Who should blink here? What should be happening? Josh Ward.
The SEC should go to a 9-game conference schedule. The Big Ten should come off the 4 automatic qualifying spots. Then the 2 conferences should align in a yearly scheduling format against each other. That would help with some of the TV games that the Big Ten would lose out on with the format you're talking about, wanting to create these play-in games at the end. Instead, you boost your yearly revenue. The SEC can get some more revenue going to 9 conference games with its contract with ABC, ESPN, and the fans win, getting better games in the regular season, and we can stop this madness because, as you mentioned, it's been years.
Right.
July 2021
right.
is when we found out that Oklahoma and Texas were going to come to the SEC. And since then, we've talked about, okay, 16-team conference. What are you going to do with the schedule?
Right.
You got to go to 9, right? Yeah. Well, maybe they'll stay at 8, and they go back and forth year after year. So it would end some of this madness, and the 2 conferences could flex what is true, that they are the most powerful conferences in college sports.
Yeah, and for those who are laughing, it should be noted, somebody went back and looked at the last 10 years, if you had the 5-11 set up, the Big Ten would have actually gotten just a slightly higher number of teams in there than the SEC. I've seen that a lot. They're like, well, the SEC will dominate that. Big Ten doesn't have a chance. Like, actually, Big Ten has had, like, it's like 5.7 to 5.1 teams per year leaning Big Ten if you use the current setup with USC, UCLA, Texas, Oklahoma. He says that the SEC should just go to 9 games already.
Cosign. Everything Josh just said, I'm on board with. It's funny because it seems over the last couple of months, everything that the SEC wants. You know what? We're going to go to the spring meetings in Destin. We're going to come out of this with a 9-game conference schedule. No, you're not. Yeah. You know what? But don't worry, as we hear from Brian Kelly leaving Destin, Florida, we're going to get together with the Big Ten and we're going to get this worked out, this interconference schedule. Then they don't want to do it just days after they end up leaving. Oh, you know what? We're going to move to a 16-game conference, 16-team college football playoff as we head into the 26th year. It looks like now they want to leave millions on the table. What I'm seeing from the SEC the last couple of weeks or months is they want to be a bride, but they don't want to walk the aisle. I always seem to always want to default to the SEC, but I can't find any reason why besides that the SEC doesn't want to lose one of those softy games. And we've heard some people mention, well, coaches don't want to lose that opportunity to be able to play some of their youngsters, like in a New Mexico State game or an ETSU game.
Yeah.
So these coaches are making millions of dollars a year, bringing in millions of dollars of revenue. Get over it and give the fans what they want, which is a better calendar, September through November.
Yeah, it seems like just 2 or 3 years ago when they were talking about expanding from 4, Greg Sankey said he's tired of circling the airport. He's ready to land a plane. Well, and the play.
He can't.
Oh, yeah. You can't.
Obviously, he can't.
How about if ESPN just made the SEC an offer they could not refuse to add that ninth game?
And that's one thing that I think
Well,
some
they
people
have
keep-
offered more cash.
They have offered more.
So right
but-
now it's $5 million extra per year per school if they go to a 9-game conference schedule.
Right.
And some people believe, well, this is just the SEC negotiating for a little bit more. Okay, I think you might be able to bid if this is a poker game, you might be bidding yourself out of the hand here.
Well, one, you need to take your coaches out of the equation because the coaches don't like it because that one extra game might be the difference between Mark Stoops being at Western Carolina and still being at Kentucky.
Completely fair.
So one, take your coaches. I think the only option that's not on the table is not getting something done before December. I mean, they'll get something done. And the SEC, I'm going to lean into the Big Ten a little bit because the SEC seems to be so disorganized right now. It's not just this, it's other things as well going forward under the way college athletics is changing. And so I think the SEC is just disorganized. And when it comes down to it, whereas a decade ago it was, we speak with one voice.
Right.
Now it's we speak with one voice until he says something. and so I think in the end, the Big Ten staying together will benefit the Big Ten and push the SEC.
I agree with Josh here that the best way would be go to a 9th game and then add another game to where the SEC and the Big Ten play each other. But then you're talking 10 automatic power games,
Right.
which other leagues play that. Big Ten does that now. But the SEC, it's just too tough. It's just too
And
tough.
some within the SEC do, but not everybody.
Not everybody.
And that
We'll
again
look at
comes
that.
back to the
Well,
divided opinions
yeah.
within the league.
And that's to Josh's point there is, you know what, I will throw a little bit of a bone, pun intended, to teams like Georgia, who have a Georgia Tech, a South Carolina who already has a Clemson that's on the board, Kentucky with Louisville. How you sort that out, it's pretty simple in my opinion. We can't play both sides of the fiddle here where we go, well, I care about tradition, but I also want to make money. We completely kicked tradition to the side when we started going to this heavy, let's bring revenue and money. So as much as you may love those Power 4 out of conference rivalries at the end of the year, if this is the direction we're going, hate it for you, maybe we'll see you
Well,
in the
how about
playoffs and
this?
move on.
If you're going to go to these play-in games with 1 versus 8 and all that stuff, then why don't you just take your non-conference schedule out of it? We're going to see this by what you do against your SEC teams in the Big Ten,
Yeah.
what you do with your Big Ten game.
Well-
And that way, if you're South Carolina and you're playing Clemson and Clemson beat you, doesn't really make any difference. So you do that and it's sort of, to me, okay, now I'm not getting fired because of this extra game.
The downside is this, we talked about this on radio a couple of weeks ago, that if you go to a situation where it's just the SEC, we're seeding our 8, 1 to 8 based on our conference schedule, then they have a play-in game, et cetera, then all of a sudden these big non-conference games that we like, now you've just taken them out. Because if you're sitting there as a coach, and it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't have any impact on you
There you
making the
go.
playoff, am I going to keep Arch Manning in there when Texas goes to Columbus this year? They're going to keep Arch Manning in? It's like, we're down 7. It's the second half just started. Let's sit our guys. This game doesn't mean anything. You'd like to think, oh, that would never happen. I don't know. Certainly possible. If the only things that matter are those 8 conference games, if that's what we'll get to, there are downsides to all of this. It's another
Yeah.
reason I don't like the play-in games, personally.
Right,
But-
and don't you feel like there's just too many SEC coaches that feel adding one more game just gives you one more chance to lose and probably get knocked out of the whole thing? I mean, that's kind of the feeling I have right now.
The other thing is they're scared, the SEC is scared of the strength of schedule will come back to bite us. If we add a game, the strength of schedule, we won't get credit for it. We didn't get credit for it last year. They only got 3 teams in, you could argue, that they would argue that they deserved more in there. But the interesting thing is they went down to the SEC meetings and Greg Sankey printed out a big thing of all these computer metrics.
Yeah.
About how the computers say we're the strongest. Look what the computers say, computers. I'm like, then use a computer formula to pick your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You apparently, hey,
Yeah.
don't tell me, look at the computers, and then say, we can't have computers pick the teams. Then shut up with your little packet. I mean, either you believe in the computers and the formulas, or you do not.
What a concept, using a computer to pick teams to go to the playoffs.
Again, I had no problem with the BCS when it was the BCS.
Yeah, the coaches are also dishonest about the strength of schedule thing. Strength of schedule kept Alabama in it. getting thumped by Oklahoma knocked him out. Strength of schedule
Right.
kept Ole Miss in it with a 9-3
But if
record.
they didn't have to play Oklahoma, they should go to 7 games.
Yeah. Just play the group of 5, and,
Yes.
and all that talent will get them into the playoff.
All right.